feature. It doesn't make sense to me, especially the way I feel about things. But I do want to do it as a play. So I was, especially like when I was, and this wasn't even before I saw Book of Mormon. I'm not going to do a musical, I'm not that talented. But we went to see a seminar, a play that Alan Rickman was in. And it was absolutely, you've seen it too, it's a wonderful fucking show. Now Jeff Goldblum's in it instead of Alan Rickman. We saw it with Rickman. And it was great. It was a one-act story. You know, they do kind of fade to blacks or drop out, blackouts and stuff. But one long act, about 90 minutes or something like that. And as I'm watching it, and it's wonderful theater, not too big, not too small and shit. Proximity to the stage was great. The miking system nowadays, you could hear pitch perfect. And I'm sitting there watching this going, all those nights that we would sit in Quick Stop and rehearse Clerks, this is exactly what it was like. Everyone, when people saw that movie, people would be like, it's like a play. And I was like, that's because that's how we rehearsed it, like a fucking play. That's the only way I know how to direct shit. I'd never made a movie before, but I'd been in high school plays, so I was like, let's kind of put it up like a play. So to come back for Clerks 3 to do a play, to me would make more sense. I was watching that play and I was like, yeah, this is where I could do Clerks. That would make me excited to do a fucking live show of it. So I'm standing in New York on the balcony of my hotel, and I was smoking. It was in the morning, and I was like, I gotta tell somebody. And I wrote an email to the one person who will be the hurdle on this. And I don't mean a hurdle in a bad way, but the hurdle, the person I'm gonna have to convince, and that's Jeff Anderson. So I wrote Jeff Anderson this email. I said, on February 7th, I said, you're the first person I'm gonna tell. Clerks 3 is gonna be a play on Broadway. We'll do a 6-month run and sell out the entirety in advance. Are you up for 6 shows a week live, sir? And he wrote back, better lay off the weed, sir. So unbowed, I wrote back to him. I said, it's genius and you know it, sir. You could win a Tony. And then he wrote back, clearly you've made the leap from weed to crack. So it'll take a little while, man, but we'll get there. Jeff's always the guy that we gotta kind of get into the idea. Brian will be into the idea like crazy because he's a theater guy. Jeff take a little while longer to convince. If I can't convince him, there's no point in doing it. He is the key to Clerks for me. So if he says yeah, then that's what we'll do. We'll do it as a Broadway play, which I think would be fucking so fun for all of us. Even Muse. Like Muse, if somebody had told me 20 years ago, that little fucking stoner dude that hangs out with you, he will be on Broadway. You know, I'd be like, you're out of here. Yeah, I'll be begging for change on Broadway. So I don't know, like I said, sometimes you do shit just to fucking like see people's expressions change. And the idea of doing Clerks 3 as a show, as a live show, is to me, like, at this stage of the game, with me being a little more artsy-fartsy than I've been in a few years, that's way more appealing. Like, I'm like, oh, that's different, man. Let's fucking do that. Like, I can't think of anybody that's sequelized an indie film in theater. You know, it's just finding weird, I like finding shit that nobody's ever done before. Like, I love that View Askewniverse series of movies because nobody really did that. Like, George Lucas made a series of movies set in the universe. You know, anything that has a series of sequels to it or something, generally set in the same universe, but nobody ever did that. Like, just connected a bunch of films that were loosely connected, not directly sequels to one another. John Hughes did it a little bit with Shermer, Illinois. So I don't know, like, it's one of those records, like they talk about, Glenn Hall has a record in hockey where he's played like so many consecutive games without a mask. The record will never be broken because goalies wear masks now. But I look at that and I'm like, I wonder if anyone will ever bother to make 6 or 7 interconnected films with characters that are referenced here. And it was kind of like making a TV show or a soap opera or something to a large degree. So anyway, that's Clerks 3 is what I've been thinking about. If it's anywhere, it's going to be on a stage, and Jeff Anderson is the key. He's not on Twitter, so you can't bug him.